So today we have master London guitarist James Ford on today, an incredible
Hi.
player. So we're going to hear all about playing guitar, learning guitar, practicing guitar. I just want to ask you from the outset, can you describe your practicing? How much do you practice? When do you practice? What do you practice
Every day,
every day?
literally every day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my ideas of what I practice is mainly songs, or my own songs as well, because they're quite complicated. Some of them. Training for endurance as well, so playing for like long hours a day rather than just like little bits. Um, what I practice, I mean, I can show you my warm up first if you want to see that. Let's
Yeah.
get some sound in that involved. So, nice little technique that I picked up from a Steve Vai DVD about from 2010, and I've never seen anyone else do this, and it was just like crazy. So I had to learn it when I did. I think I was 19 at the time, and it's basically what you're playing in this nick is basically the same note with four different fingers. So you got this sort of thing, okay, and what that is doing is helping me with the accuracy and sort of the speed of the sort of the picking. I might move slightly up a little bit just so you can kind of see the right hand movement. And when I'm playing this, I'm not just practicing this for the exercise, I'm thinking ahead of what I'm going to do, whether it's a song, a scale, as such.
And you start off with that first thing?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
that helps the left. The right hand is completely different. Now, I think from a gigging musician, if you ever played outdoors or in the cold, it's very difficult just to be like ready straight away. So this has kind of developed over time of the left hand, but the right hand doing different chops and that sort of very, very basic. I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but it's to
Uh-huh.
kind of keep a very like funky movement as
So,
such.
so that's the
So
first thing you do. How long do you spend on that particular exercise?
well, it depends on how. It depends how ready I am, but like maybe like 5 minutes, 15.
Mm-hmm. And then talk about playing for endurance because that was really interesting. Because a lot of people they'll practice just in isolation, but you really got to practice to get ready for shows, right? So you have to know that you
Absolutely.
can get through a long show. So what does that involve? Practicing for endurance?
Okay, so let's say we've got 14 songs of a set list. Oh, I don't know this. You know, we'd get all the arrangements ready, go through the parts, and then play it. But not just play one song and then break. It's like literally you play the 14 tracks right the way through. That's the cycle.
Uh huh.
Well, that's what you want to build to, anyhow. Well, you can do it in increments. If you don't know the songs well enough, or you're not confident enough, I would probably say do it in groups. So like do it in groups of three. At the moment, I'm writing a new album, which we can talk about later. And there's a particular part of the song that I need to get it right. So literally using Logic Pro, I'm literally looping the section, and I'm playing that about 60 times. Just
Hmm.
so when I do come to play it live, it's just going to be, I hope, as fluid as I can possibly play it there and then in the moment. Um,
Gotcha.
with endurance, you've always got to kind of match yourself with the drummer, because if you can keep up with those guys or girls, you can really just you can carry on
Hmm. Yeah.
and play as effective as you're playing with the first song as you're playing the last song. So there's no, you're not exhausted by the end of the night.
So is this in when you go through the entire set list, is that in lead up to a gig, like a few days before or a week before, or you just do that every single day to be constantly ready?
Well, I wouldn't say days before. You'd want to be ready like like at least 2 weeks before. I
Hmm.
mean, I would be very worried. I
Yeah.
would be so worried if I didn't know a song, and I've got like a gig on, say, this
Oh yeah,
weekend.
yeah,
I would be. I mean, we wouldn't be doing this. That's how the
yeah.
reality of it is. No, you want to be doing this like 3 months, 2 months, or as soon as you can, really, as early as you can, to get the to get the hands ready. And I also recommend standing up and practice as well, because you're not going to have a nice, comfy chair sitting down. All this is nice. and start playing. Well, it depends on the instrument and the music, but guitar, rock music, you don't normally get a stool, you know, or a nice desk and a chair.
Yeah.
So
And how many hours is this normally every single day?
3 or 4, depending on it. But it depends. I was saying this to someone else the other day. Like learning songs and music is probably shorter than me writing music because I would rather be writing. But at the same time, I still need to practice and learn, and still be on the sort of the ball for obviously knowing sort of the theory stuff to be able to just look at the fretboard and go, right, there's an E. You know, obviously the volume's down, but. For example, but I always want to be gig ready. You know, I've always had that. I've probably had that mentality now for the last 10 years of my playing.
So you're just always going through songs. You're always practicing songs in their completion,
Yes.
to be ready for a gig.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is every single day.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not every day, it's every other day, or like 4 days on, 1 day off. Or honestly, it depends on the demand of what it is. I mean, some things can be quite demanding, so we probably wouldn't start every day at like 10 a.m. or whatever. It would probably be like later. But as long as those hours have been worked in, and I feel, this is actually improving and it's working, then I'm consistent and I carry on with it. But yeah, at the moment, touch wood, I haven't had any problems where I need to change my practice ideas and my sort of belief of, I should do this more than that more. I think it's like you just need to do whatever you need to do that's required for the music or for the project or for the song or for a student or whatever. That's not to say it's like when I'm practicing it's like everything in, every single thing I know. There is like a thing behind picking up the instrument. Obviously it's fun and I love doing it, but if I'm just trying to get more improvements in terms of being more fluid, being, not having to play a million notes to just, to improvise, or just, be more melodic as well. There's a lot of people struggle to have to make something that's in their head on their instrument, rather than saying, right, play me a scale and they'll play it like octave fully, all the way up, all the way down. But to be able to create something out of nothing and then write to it and add to it, I've always had, that's always come quite easy for me as a player, is to write a riff or a guitar line. But that's the trouble. Once I hear a melody, I won't be practicing, even though I think I'm practicing. I'm actually writing a song, and then I'll sit where I am and just write a whole arrangement and go, "Oh, well, that's done. Then that's that's it. That's
Gotcha.
2 hours have gone by and I've already got a new song." And that seems to be a good habit to have.
So that's like a flow state that you'll get in. Just hear an idea and you just got to put it down right then, right?
Yeah. I mean, if I can hear something and I'm not near the guitar, then it's like, right, I need to, it's like I need to find the exit to get to an instrument to be able to hear it and how it sounds.
And talk about that a little bit. Like, if you don't get
Yeah.
it down right away, will you forget it, or will it stay
No.
in your head still? No.
Well, if I don't get it done straight away, and I think it's worth doing, then I will either use like a keyboard, like a MIDI keyboard, to write the part in. Which at one point there was parts of my songs that I wrote, I couldn't physically play them on guitar, but I could literally program them and go, right, I need to now learn that. Which I know that is quite common with composers, especially that I've spoken to. But if there's something that I can't get straight away, I will persevere and work at it. And then I work out all the sort of mechanics behind, right, what can I do to be able to play it effectively, very, very slowly, but also work out why I can't play it.
Gotcha.
So when I've taught students before and I'm watching someone play something and they're like, I can't do this, it's too this, or it's too quick. I'm like, well, first thing you do, play it slower And then they still struggling. I was like, right, play it to me as if you're trying to teach me how to play it. And then they end up building it, and then they go, oh, I can do it, I can play it. I'm like, you know, if you take that approach of showing someone how to play something, I know this is very like, you know, disclaimer, like if you've been playing a while and you know what you're doing, not someone that's just started, but I would say that to a lot of younger students that I've had in the past. Play it as if you're trying to explain it to someone, rather than going 100 miles an hour and then you keep hitting the same mistake that you're doing again and again and again.
So it's almost like play it as if you're demonstrating it the correct way for somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, fascinating. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And that wasn't like I was taught that. It was more of like an observation of like, I'm just going to say it like this and see if it works. And every person that I've said it to, it's had the positive effect of it. It's always it's been a good thing for them, because that way they're sort of like teaching themselves via me. And I don't proclaim to be an amazing guitar player or whatever, but I'm just like, if I can do it, you can do it, sort of thing. Yeah. So.
And talk about practicing slowly. Is that a part of your process too? If you're learning a new song and you can't play it yet, you practice it slowly?
Yes. Depending on what you mean by, or defining what you mean by slowly, are you playing, if it's like an isolated guitar part, are you sort of working out the mechanics of it? I don't know, maybe it'll sound like a... or something like that. Working out how to kind of move is the kind of, you know, you're overseeing the entire movement of a piece of a song or a scale. You're not just listening or reading the music, you kind of have to listen to everything else around it as well. So, and that was another thing as well that I sort of developed. Rather than just focusing on what I can't play, it's like what else is going around that piece of music that I need to now play along to. And then you're saying about practicing slowly, yeah, you would have to, because if you're constantly going and it's not clean, it's like, what are you doing? Like no one's like, especially if you're on your own, no one's going to say, oh, what are you doing? Because you don't know any different, because in your head you think you're doing the movement or the part. But yeah, no, definitely slowly. And going back to that warm-up idea, first of all I had to do it like this. And then build on it.
Okay.
I first did that in a show in London many years ago, and I thought, I'm just going to try it. And it was a really heavy rock song, massive solo, and in the drop at the end of the solo, the whole track just drops. Like, it just goes very, very, very quiet. And it was something like I don't know, just whatever the solo, but the outro of it was like a... Now, yeah, I'm going up and down, but I'm articulating how hard and how soft I'm hitting the string to get that sort of more percussive movement. Or percussive sound, sorry. And I'm adding my own sort of vibrato to the note. Yeah. Gotcha. Which sounds a bit crazy, but this is the other thing as well that helps. Why I do that is to help me move to different notes on the fretboard as well. So it's not just like a party trick, like a gimmick, like, oh, I can play that one note super fast, look at me go. It's to help me move up and down the fretboard more.
Okay. And do you play scales and arpeggios, things like that?
Sadly, I do, and they're fun. Yes, yeah.
And that's part of your practice, part of your routine?
Yes.
Okay. So is that kind of towards the beginning of your practice session, you'll play some scales, and what do scales do for you?
Well, it just helps more the technical playing side of me rather than my improv side or my sort of bluesiest side, or, you know, if I'm not playing like a... I'll add like a little run. I mean, how well you can. It definitely helps, and I think just kind of keeping more, sort of just fresh. You know, keeping the hand movement. I think if you play a particular style of music for years and years and years, and then or like for a time, let's just say I'm a, you know, traditionally a blues player. You start doing scales that aren't necessarily associated with blues music, you're gonna feel like this feels really weird, you know. Or if you're like a heavy metal player and all you play is like, you know, chugs and come playing sort of like a I don't know, like a or whatever. I'm just kind of just making up something along with the improv stuff, but it feels so weird for people. I mean, it's better to kind of be more of like an all-rounded player, just like going like or something really funky to like something really heavy or different style of. You know, and if I was to play something heavier, I mean, I don't want to change my tone because it might be too loud. But
Gotcha.
yeah, it's just I've always found that you kind of have to be very. And this is my opinion. I think you should not just stick to one genre of music. As a musician, I think you should try and cover as much as you can, because I do think that improves you. If you just play one thing, I mean, depending on, you know, the music that you're doing, it can be quite detrimental to the player.
Yeah, so you need a large vocabulary, correct?
Mm.
But do scales and arpeggios, they just help you learn music faster? You know, if you're trying to learn something new, it's kind of in your fingers already because you played it in a scale, in a sense.
I think it's subjective, because if you haven't come from learning songs through tablature or learning by seeing, and you've never had a theory lesson, or you don't understand the mechanics of what you're doing, playing, say, like a Locrian scale or Figurian scale, you've got no idea what that means, or you don't know the sort of the formula of how shapes and chord structures are formed. You know, you just play because it sounds nice, as opposed to the flip side. If you have a musically trained mind, you can hear a piece of music and you start playing, and within 2 bars, maybe even less, you can go, oh, I know exactly what they're doing.
Gotcha.
And, you know, learning both sides can be amazing. Like, it can be, if you put the two together, you can just see someone on stage that you're jamming with that you've never played before and go, right, I know exactly what they're doing. And then you're good. You don't need to like go, what are they playing now? Because you can feel it. And if you're calm under pressure, and forget there's like loads of people watching you, you know, if you use your ears and your brain and slow time around you, even though there's no such thing, but you can actually go, right, I know what they're doing, I know what I can do, just by looking up and down the neck. You don't even have to do that, you don't even have to travel that far, you can just go, right, next string, or, you know, a few frets up.
Mm-hmm. So you need both in a sense. You need the technicality, which comes from theory and scales, but you also need to be able to listen to records and learn music that way, or listen to songs.
Yeah, definitely. I think if everyone went back to how people were learning before the internet and social media and camera phones and everything like that, I think a lot of people would struggle now, back before the people that were doing it, you know, back then, that was the only way of learning. Mm-hmm. If you couldn't read music or anything like that, or nothing was written down in a score or in a guitar magazine, you would have to stop a track and play it back. Like, I have older musician friends that have told me stories. They've had to slow down their vinyl players to work out a part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, like, I couldn't imagine anyone doing that now, because they just go stop, start on YouTube.
Exactly, and it has a slowdown function too, which is awesome. Yeah,
It does. But I do think that kind of has a limit to you learning.
Yeah, yeah.
Because what you're learning the movement. I mean, if you really wanted to be really in depth about it, you could go, right, I'm playing this shape, but what is it? How bothered are they going to be by not knowing what the name of the shape is, or not knowing? They just want to learn the song.
Mm.
It's like, oh, what key are you playing in? And it's like, I don't know. I just like playing it, and that's like, oh, okay, fair enough. But if you're genuinely want, like, you need to tell someone, and you go, I don't know, it's this. Oh, okay. Oh, we'll just go along with what he's playing. If it sounds good, it works. But yeah, no. But then the other flip flop saying, you were saying about scales and practicing for speed. Yeah, it can help in certain genres of music, definitely. Um, I couldn't imagine trying to attempt to play Yngwie Malmsteen music or Jason Becker or some insane guitar player, and you don't really know your theory. I'd be worried. I would be like,
Uh-huh.
let me just, I'll watch him play it if they
And
can do that, you know.
and really, as you were saying before, there is something to the sheer amount of hours, right? Because a lot of people they try to adopt these efficient practice routines where it's like, oh, I
Hmm.
can get all my work done in half an hour or an hour, but really you need more hours than that, right? Because it gives you the
Yes,
stamina, right? Yeah.
yes. Well, do you want to be good or not? Like,
Hmm.
there's that. You need to be very, very harsh and true to yourself. I mean, I've been playing guitar since '96. So what year are we in? 2025. So nearly 30 years playing. It's all I've ever wanted to do as
Yeah.
well. So it's like I love doing it. So I don't understand when someone says, "Oh, I can only do," or "I can only want to play for half an hour." I mean, half an hour. That's like 6 songs, 6, 7, 8 songs. That's all you're gonna do. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. No, dedicate the time. If you want to be good at it or good at anything, you have to put the time in. Whether it's music, art, sports. I mean, you relate it to like a sprinter or a boxer. You don't go right. A few stretches and then you're going to win gold at the next Olympics or unless you're superhuman. But no, if you want to be good, you have to dedicate your time to it. And
Yeah.
if you're not getting the results on your own, find a guitar teacher because YouTube and socials are only going to show you so much. I mean, because you can only ever see sort of the front. You can't really see what organically what they're doing, and you can't ask a YouTube video a question. But I don't get why that, or like why is it when I'm playing a chord? Why is there a slight buzz when I'm doing bar chords? I mean, obviously I'm deliberately not applying pressure, but um, but again, having taught and having lessons over the years, but mainly more teaching as I've gotten older, is the importance of like hand placement and where your thumb should be and kind of playing with a better technique, not necessarily a correct form, because I think that's all subjective to the player's hands. Because you could have really, really big hands, and then like, oh, these stretches are really easy. But if you've got smaller hands, you kind of have to work out how can I do that? How do I sort of like not keep up, but be in line with the people that are playing these insane movements? And again, back to what we said earlier, playing slow and analysing every single movement, whether it be just a simple movement to the left or you're coming up. You just have to take things slow, so
And
then
how
your
long do you
hand builds.
Yeah, I had this debate, on my page recently. It's like, how long do you stay slow? Do you stay slow for a long time, or you stay slow just as long as you need to, and then you just go fast as soon as you can? How does that work?
I would probably say go. Well, it depends on the music you're playing, but what did you say? The second one, I would probably agree. So start off slow and then
Hmm.
build to where it needs to be. You don't need to be playing it 200 miles an hour if it's the original speed is slower than you're practicing. I mean, that has some benefits because playing in the studio to playing live, some drummers like to speed up a little bit so you can kind of keep the chops going. There was a point a few years ago when I was teaching. I used to, teaching like groups and like songs and stuff. And I would slow the track down to where the group would all play it as a unit, all in time, but they couldn't play it at the normal speed. So I would just loop. I would loop, and I would gradually bring the speed up. I would casually increase it, and it would be well past the original speed of the song. And then I'll just stop it, and I was like, right guys, how do you think you went? How do you think it went? They're like, yeah, okay. I was like, how far do you think till we were at the original speed? So they put their hands up. And they go, oh, well, maybe like one more turn. And some people would kind of know, like, you were speeding up on purpose. And I'm like, well, there we go. Yeah, it was. Because you've done the repetitions, you can gradually increase the speed. But then we're like twice the speed of the actual song. Or like, if we're talking about BPMs to make it more, as opposed to twice the speed, you're probably playing 10 BPM quicker than the actual original. Which is really good for, like, say, someone that doesn't, they don't think they can play it, but they've got the shape and then they can do it, but you just need to drill it into them, essentially. But it's a confidence thing. As soon as you say I can't do it enough times, I can't play that. I could never play that. It's almost like when someone starts to learn the guitar for the first time, or like another instrument, they go, I would love to play that song. That's like my bucket list song. And then you do all these practice routines, and you get to a really good foundation, and you know your chords, but then they've learnt their song quicker than they realised. I've had people before, like, they've learnt their song in 6 months, whereas if they never had the lessons, or they do it on their own on YouTube, or not. Bear in mind, I'm not discrediting YouTube. I've said like YouTube like 10 times in this thing, all against it. But no, it can be really good YouTube. That's but back to like learning. If you're like really, really struggling, you need to just repeat, slow, and build. But be realistic with it. Like, you're not going to learn. I don't know, if you're a piano player and you want to learn a Chopin number like lightning fast, you need this. You need to be realistic and take it a bit slower.
So you slow, you build it up, and we'll
Yeah.
talk about that confidence thing. So do you need to have confidence while you're practicing? Does that come into it? Because a lot of people, they'll practice negative, like, I can't do this, and they're trying to learn something, but that gets built into your playing, right? You need to have confidence kind of while you're practicing, in a sense, and it helps you learn faster.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I think you need to set goals, and they need to be real. Obviously, they need to be realistic as well. Obviously, you need to evaluate what can and what I can't play. I mean, that's quite a big question, what you've just asked me. So, with learning, if you're like a beginner, or say this, I mean, we'll give a sort of a made-up person. Let's say they've been playing for a few years, but not strict, and and they're trying to learn this song, but they're like, oh, that's too difficult for me. But like, well, why is it difficult? You're just saying it's difficult for the sake of avoiding failing. Just be honest. You're going to fail playing it. Like, it's there's no shame in that. And I think you learn from realizing what you're playing is wrong, and if you can correct it, brilliant. If you're playing something and it's not in pitch, like, if you're you think you're doing like whole tone bends, but it's not. A bit like a singer constantly singing flat and they don't realise it. Listen back to what you're doing. Does it sound good? If it's good, cool, build on that. If it doesn't sound good, ask yourself why. Are you playing too fast? Are you hitting the strings too heavy? Have you got too much distortion? Is there too much delay? The list is endless. But if your confidence is only going to get better when you can actually like see yourself getting better. And that's quite an easy thing for me to say, but there's been times where I've recommended to students and other guitar players, like, film yourself, or whether it be visual or audio, of you playing a riff or a song or a part, and then play it again in like 6 months' time to a year, or just anything. Just watch how you've developed over the years, and you look back on it and you go, "Wow, that is, you know." I mean, if someone's like doing graded music, and they're not quite at the top of the grading system, they're like sort of grade, you know, grade 5, grade 4, got 5, 6, and they're really struggling. Well, look where you've come. You were struggling on grade 2, you passed that. You were struggling on grade 3, you smashed it. You need to like reinforce that you are good, because if you weren't good, you wouldn't be doing the difficult things that people would love to do. You know, you need that. I think you need your friends around you to say, no, what you're doing is actually good, or not. So it's but
Or
confidence,
a teacher, right? Yeah.
yeah, no, you need to find. I mean, there are probably loads of they're amazing. There are probably more amazing teachers out there than there are online that don't actively post every day and do all that. I know some amazing players that don't do the whole social media because doesn't excite them.
Yeah.
And they're honestly monster players. Good God.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's what they enjoy doing, and to have a really good teacher. I mean, I was very lucky. I started very young, and I started learning. I didn't learn theory until I was like 13, but I was learning like Hendrix songs and learning by watching him play it and playing it back, and then playing live music by the age of 9, 10. But that was the confidence there. The confidence was already instilled in me. And then having my second teacher sort of like show me Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, Blue Saraceno, that music was like big explosion in my mind. And I said, I want to play sort of like that. And then the playing just eventually went up and up and up and up. But then obviously that was the realisation of sort of a goal, a long-term goal that you need to have to realise these... that you have these abilities within you, but you just have to work at them. And then once you get them, it's an amazing feeling. And then guess what? It starts again, because you just want to improve and improve and improve. But I think there does come a point where, obviously, and that's why I'm saying I play pretty much every day, is because I want to improve. But at the same point, I want to be gig ready to be able to go out and just play.
Yeah, at all times, yeah.
So that was a really long answer, but I just feel like very passionate about, you know, because I still remember starting very young.
Yeah.
Before there was like, you know, a camera phone in an audience. It was a camcorder filming me playing, you know, and I remember people just losing their mind going, how is this kid with a guitar that's twice his size playing Hendrix? And people were just looking at each other like, what's going on?
Yeah, so
But,
you were obsessed even back then with
oh yeah.
guitar. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I heard you
Definitely.
say, and this was so interesting to me. I heard you in an interview that you did say that during the pandemic you were practicing 5-6 hours a day, and that's kind of
Yes.
yeah, and that's
Yes.
kind of
So
antithetical. Like a lot of musicians had no motivation; they weren't practicing at all. You know, so like, where does that come from?
it came from realising, and it was actually coming back from the NAMM show and seeing all these players, amazing players, and I think I was not. It was almost like if I want to be really good or if I want to be better, I just need to put the hours in. So unfortunately, the world had to take 5 minutes and close, which was terrible. But to make a sort of a good thing out of a very, very bad situation, the only thing I could do was play. And I had a very cheap Ibanez guitar, which I knew didn't really matter if I wore the guitar down. Like it was a workhorse, and it helped. And I went through everything. I went through getting better at theory, getting better at scales, getting better at learning songs, getting better at like learning like microtonal parts. So for those that don't know what microtonal is, that's watching this. It's the notes in between a whole tone and a semitone and a quarter tone. Very much like Hindu like vocal. That sort of where the note And that was, I mean, I was listening to Marty Friedman a lot, who does that sort of who does that sort of like playing where it's like it's not quite in pitch, but it's meant to be, because it's more like a vocal or like a fretless instrument, and that fascinated me. So I'd spend hours on it, just doing silly little random note pulls, and another one like someone like Jeff Beck doing that sort of playing as well on a strat. I don't have my tremor put in, but that sort of
And did you have to push yourself to do all this, you know, during the pandemic when nobody else was practicing, or was it just, would you call it obsession? You just had to.
oh, it was a must. If
Yeah.
I wanted to be better, this is the time now. And it's like now or not, because
Mm-hmm.
and it helped. It really did. You know, it was that sort of Bill and Ted moment. Like you go in they come out the booth and it's like, oh, they've been playing for 20 years, but before.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, no, it was really for me. Sorry, let me turn this down. It's for me to get better, and it helped. It really did. And I wrote my EP and a lot of songs in that lockdown, which I don't think I would have been able to have done it. Realistically, I don't think I'd have been able to have written the songs or even played the parts that are on the album now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was definitely a dedication, you know, and it was realistic as well. It wasn't like, oh, I just can't, you know, if I don't do this, if I don't practice, I'm probably going to be the same player I was when I came out of lockdown. I mean, that's quite naive to say that. But the real thing is that if I'm going to do this for the rest of my life, I need to hit the hours now and be better.
Yeah. So that was and you were just, you went insane during that period in a sense, like just,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And it was fun on reflection of playing, like just blistering. it was just silly. It was like, I remember one, it was just trying to get my speed up because I was really into that sort of shred. I mean, I still am, but at that point it was like listening to like Racer X, Paul Gilbert, Becker, Marty Friedman, obviously Vi. Although he's not much of a speed guy, it was still, you know, it was still amazing to hear. But yeah, it was just something I needed to work on. And even playing like a 7-string, which I don't have on me now, but I can get it. That was another thing. Doing the sort of like you know, that sort of Tosin Abasi, that sort of thump action. But then I knew loads of bass players that have been doing that for years, so it was kind of like, what technique should I work on? Oh, let's do that. That sounds fun. I can't do that. Let's do that.
Yeah, so in terms of, I mean, so you had all these ideas and all these techniques that you wanted to learn at that point, like for example, the microtonal thing. How long does it take to start from scratch with a new technique and then to be able to fully adopt it into your playing? You know, how long, what is that process like? How long
is that like you asking me or just like in general?
You in general. Yeah, for you.
Well, I need to make, if I'm going to do the technique, I need to sort of work it out why I'm using the technique. It needs to be something where it's going to serve the purpose of the song and the music, more importantly, before you go, oh, I could add, you know, this sort of like, for example, or a learning the technique. Again, it's visually seeing it. If it's something you've watched on like a social platform, I mean, you could say like with slide playing. I mean, that's probably a realistic thing, that like a technique. That's a massive technique that should be like taught more. Slide playing, visual. Using your ears, that you're getting the right pitch of the note, and just the practicality of it. I mean, I've got a song called Time at the start of the track. it's slide playing, and then afterwards it drops out to normal playing. That was a process of just listening with my ears, not watching the tuner on a screen and going, right, that's in pitch, right, let's do that movement and work out, right, if I move it to here, it's going to be in. Because again, if your guitar's slightly out of tune and you're playing live and you're in a cold environment and your guitar's not warm and the strings go out, you need your ears to hear where to move it to the pitch. So,
And then you just repeat that a ton, just that same motion, in a sense.
I would play it in different motions. I'd play it with different songs, different styles, because I always find that, you know, it's like people that, there are certain musical guitar players that want to learn a particular solo of a song. I'm like, well, that's amazing. That's really, really good. But like learning a technique, you should do it in different areas, like a scale or a shape or a guitar lick or a lead line, or move it up and down the neck, because what you're doing is you're practicing, you're teaching yourself how to, you know, play your instrument and ultimately be really, really comfortable playing it. Because if you can only play one guitar lick, okay, you need to learn more. You need to learn more. But if you can only play in one area, you've got all this and up here, you know, these little notes. You need to work out what they are.
You put it in as many different contexts as you can. That
Yes.
new technique, yeah, and so as
Yeah.
many different areas and iterations as possible. But what's
Yeah.
the lifespan on that? Like, say, okay, so you have a technique, you have no idea how to do it. How long does it take to get from that to I can do it without even thinking about it anymore?
Oh, it depends. Right, okay, well, it depends on the technique, but it
Mhm.
also depends on how. I mean, because I know quite a lot of techniques, but that's like, it depends on when I use it or when it's needed. So it's good to have it in your arsenal. But it's like, but to answer the question of from the drawing board to the finished product, oh, not long. I'd probably say like a week, maybe less. But it depends on what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Probably
Okay.
less. I'd say probably days.
Mm-hmm. But that's just every day shredding it constantly, and
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, then again, I wouldn't say shredding, because shredding is like a particular movement of playing. I would
shedding it.
say, yeah, yeah. Or if you can play it in different styles, then you've got it. Do
Okay.
you know what I mean?
So
If you can do it,
immediately, yeah. So immediately you'll start at putting it in different contexts.
yeah,
Just taking that general idea and then put it in different
yeah,
contexts. Okay.
yeah. Just put a drum track on, like a random drum beat. Or if you don't have that, find a backing track onto YouTube with any key you're comfortable in. Because you want, the whole thing is like practicing as well. You need to be comfortable in your surrounding, whether it's physically or with your ears and what you're listening to. Then you don't have to worry about what key you're playing, because the whole point of the exercise is the technique. And then you branch off and you take it into other things.
Mhm.
Yeah, a bit like finger tapping, you know. Obviously, if you're like into your Van Halen and that style of rock music, you're gonna hit that pretty early on in your playing style. It's probably the first thing anyone does when they learn how to finger tap. Like take a solo, you know, they're at it straight away. But if your teacher's good, or they kind of have more playing experience and they want to make you be more creative with what you know, it's the kind of, right, we're going to have like a little jam over this key, and in like a few bars time, that's when I want you to use the technique. So already they're thinking in their head, but at the same time they're still playing. That can have some massive benefits and be very beneficial, I think, to the player. Obviously, I mean, these are all subjective, because these are my thoughts and opinions on playing. It's not necessarily what I'm saying is true and you must do that, but if it's going to help them, and if it does help them, do it again. Keep doing it and build on that. And then you know you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
without even having to think, oh, can I do it today? No, you can do it because you've been doing it for the last 6 months or 6 years or whatever.
And talk a little bit about tone. How does one find their own
Here we
tone?
go. Oh.
How does one find their signature tone? Like
This
tone
is where we got to end the call. No.
yeah.
Well, your ear's going to gravitate to whatever you think sounds good
Uh-huh.
and what you want to sound like. I mean, I am a massive fan of Marshall because of my heroes play Marshall. So I want that sort of tone. Obviously, Marshall is a very reliable, very, very reliable amp company, and they're one of the best in the world, if not the best, in my opinion. Finding your tone. Now, it all depends on who do you want to sound like. That's also that kind of can help people. Whether you want to sound like your heroes, I know a lot of people I know like a fan of Slash, or Jimmy Page or Ray Vaughan. They want that sort of blue. If they're Stevie Ray Vaughan, they're going to go for that bluesy tone. But how would I find my tone? It's whatever I think sounds nice, really, without being too short of an answer.
Is this kind of like is it kind of like a combination of your heroes, but like a little bit of you thrown in there, and or a lot of you thrown in there? It's like kind of like a mix of the whole thing.
I would say more of me and a little nod to my heroes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And does it start in your head? Do you walk around hearing your tone in your head, and then you just got to get it out of your guitar?
Someone has to listen to me, so it's going to be me every day. No, yes, it is in the mind.
Yeah.
It's not like you kind of have to. I mean, it is again. It's all with your ears, and you don't want something that's going to sound really hollow or flat. You want something sonically that's going to sound really rich and amazing. You want something that's going to stand out and not be too like that sounds too bright, or that sounds really muffled, or you want something that's going to sit and be really nice. Like, you can put loads of guitar players on and go, I know who that is. And you can do that with tones. I mean, it wasn't until years later I realised that in the David Bowie track, Let's Dance, that's Stevie Ray Vaughan playing guitar. But he's playing the solos, he's not playing the main parts, which I thought he was young. I thought, oh, that's him. But as soon as you hear that sort of whatever he does, it's like that.
Yeah.
That sort of. Anyway, I'm going to stop, but that would. And then again, Ray Vaughan was another influence of mine. Laying that sort of very bluesy, raw sound. And it wasn't about playing 100 miles an hour, it was playing with loads of feel and loads of passion. But again, I think tone, Nick, I think tone develops over time of playing and how you improve as a player and as a person, and just you kind of, if you're really into your gear and you're really into your amps and you're really into your sonics, like your sounds, you're going to be there for ages fine tuning. And I said this the other day to someone, I think once you find a really good sound, like for me, once I find a really good amp tone, I'm not going to change it. I'm not going to like mess around with the sort of the core tone of my sound, because that's what I like. Obviously, if I'm recording for someone and they want, can I have a bit more delay and reverse, that's different, because you're playing for them. You want to hear, you're sort of a vessel for what they want to hear. Mm-hmm. Almost, rather than, I want to sound like this. So in my music, I'm going to have a bit more distortion here and there, and a bit more reverb, and tiny bit of delay on the solos, so they kind of bounce around a little bit more. And so I think it does take time finding your tone, but then again, it might not. It depending on the music, the player, and how carefree you are. Yeah.
So it starts with taste and hearing it in your head and hearing what you want first, and then you got to find a way to get that out, right? In a sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, if you grew up listening to, say, 60s music, like 60s rock music, and you never went past 1970, you know, you listen to like early Rolling Stones, early Who songs, early Kinks songs. They're very... The technology that was around then, obviously, is nothing like it is now, which is like insane when you look at it in such a short time span as well. You're gonna want to play what they have. You want to play like a Fender Twin or like a Marshall JTM or, you know, a Vox. You don't need like loads and effects pedals and wahs and banks of effects and whatever and noise gates built in and blah blah blah, pitch shifters and whatever. You're gonna find your tone pretty quick if you know what to look for. I mean, that sounds silly, but if you look into what, say, you look at your guitar player that you really like and idolise, you're gonna read up on what he used or she used. You're gonna do it. It's gonna, you know, it's like your favourite sports player. Or what shoes do they wear? Or what brand do they? I'm gonna play that. I'm gonna play that brand because they use that and it's really really good. You know, yeah. I think I've answered that. I hope I've answered that well enough,
great.
Nick. So
Yeah,
but
great.
yeah, finding your tone is always, it's, you know. So I'm speaking more about it. It's, again, if you're happy with it, brilliant. You don't need to constantly change it. I mean, if there's a new piece of kit and you go, oh my god, what is that? Like recently, I was at the Marshall factory in England, and I'm a big fan of the JCM 800. And they've recently brought out a modded version, and oh my god, that sound of that is just is brilliant. Like I can't. It's like the newer version. You know, it's like the newer version of the best amp, in my opinion. It's like, oh my god.
But when it comes down to it, right, it's not as much the gear; it's more in your fingers and in your head.
Yeah.
Say,
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Paul Kossoff, the guitar player of Free, and he was one of my early influences. So playing with that sort of vibrato, real aggression, and you know, that lovely playing that he did. Yeah, it's fantastic. And he only had like probably a fuzz overdrive and his Marshall cranked up, but
yeah,
you know, it is in the fingers. And obviously, I know there's loads of like silly clickbaity forums, and you know, oh, it's in the wood and it's in the strings. It's in everything, but it's a combination of everything that you use.
yeah.
It's definitely in the fingers, because if you can't bend a note, or you can't do a vibrato or vibrated note or any sort of thing like that, you're going to struggle to play that sort of music or a song that you can't. You know, if you bend like, well, no. Or the sort of that sort of microtonal stuff. No, so I could play all the time. Like you could just watch me play.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a couple more things for you, man.
Yeah.
So when you're, and you talked about this before, but when you're up there in front of an audience, there's a bunch of people looking at you, and like time stops in a sense, right? Like you talked about before. What's going through your head? Are you thinking technique? Are you thinking emotion? Are you thinking sound? Like, what are you actually thinking when you're up there playing in front of people?
I don't think technique. I think that's probably a massive red alert if I've ever had that. It's because it's like, oh my god. No, it's being with the music. It's being in tune with the players. It's being not sort of isolated on stage. Because I feel like if you feel isolated at any point, there's a worry that there's going to be a mistake, or you're not focusing on the music that's going around.
Oh, that's great.
Because ultimately, it's to serve, and it's to, you know, to play. If you want to, like, obviously playing in bands and stuff, you got to be a team player. You can't just be like the band are watching you play. Like, you know, the drummer's trying to like waiting for you to come in, and you know, if you're taking a solo and you've gone on for like longer than you should. If there's no eye contact between the musicians, no one knows what they're doing. And I've seen it before. I've seen guitar players who are really, really good players, but they've got no idea of reading the room. That's why I'm going to stop at that story, but it's like, that sort of overplaying, you should look and like if someone's going to give you the nod to take a solo or even not even solos in general, just playing the songs and playing music and being in time with everyone else. I mean, I was very fortunate to play with some incredible drummers in my career, and just watching them play and how they make slight sort of like accents on cymbals and how they articulate themselves has really made me a better player, just by watching them and how they emphasise certain things. So I'm going to do the same if you slightly hit your snare harder, or your kick drum, or your floor tom, or cymbals, or whatever, or if they're doing a particular accent on their hi-hat, then this hand is gonna kick in with that sort of like funky, I mean, I haven't even got a name for it yet, but it's like that sort of very choppy playing, very percussive playing, I'll call it for now. But yeah, being a team on stage is vastly important, and I think that just comes with playing with people rather than collaborations online are really, really good because it helps you play with other players and it helps you record it from home and recording softwares. But would you not want to go out and play and do gigs in front of real life people and get a buzz that you can't really get from a like on social media? Mm-hmm. I mean, unless it's one of your heroes, or like I'm really, oh my god, that person's like, that's cool. But I just mean playing in front of people and getting the applause and getting the sort of like, you've put all these hours in for years and years and years and years to do it in front of a phone. Okay, yeah, I get it. That's cool. That's what you want to do. Or you don't want to do gigs. Okay, fair enough. You don't. But okay, but I mean, I love playing. I mean, there's nothing I would want to do else than playing music and playing in front of people and seeing people go, this is awesome. And they're having an hour or an evening where they haven't got to worry about anything, and it's just like they're hearing really good music. Everyone's having a good time.
So that nervousness, or that stage fright, whatever you want to call it, that comes from isolation in a sense. Like you're too much in your own head or your own world. If you just put yourself in harmony with the music, that kind of goes away in a sense.
I think it comes as well with inexperience.
Yeah.
If you've never done it, you're going to be nervous at first because obviously you want it to be good. So you're going to be nervous. I think regardless of what level of player you are and what sort of how famous you are, I think there should always be a level of fear or what if, or like a certain level of anxiety. I mean, if you've never played before and you're about to open up in front of like 300,000 people, that's different to going, because that's nothing to be smirked at or. But if it's the first time playing in front of people, yeah, you're going to be nervous, but you're going to do a really, really good job at the same time, and people are going to be really happy and impressed. I think playing in front of your friends, to really like, how do you get out of that nervousness and the fear of it going wrong? Well, there's always a percentage of it going wrong, but how well can you adapt to that? There was a time when I was first teaching, and I don't really do it now because it's but I would make students not use certain strings. So I'd be like, right, we're now going to tape off the D string, and you're not allowed to play the B string. You're now playing a solo, your G breaks on your guitar. Well, what do? Well, you work out where to carry on. I mean, that actually happened on a tour. I was in Scotland, and my D string broke. And I actually pulled it like that, and I was still playing. It was funny. I mean, the tour guy didn't find it funny because he was like, "You need to change your guitar." I was like, "No, I know what I'm doing. I don't need to. I don't need to just, I don't need to change my tyres straight away. I can finish the song." But yeah, I think playing in front of your friends and family will help because they'll be encouraging. I mean, the ones that really care will champion you all the way, regardless. I do believe that, I mean, playing in front of people, the more you do it, the more you're going to be less concerned about what people think as well. I think that's another thing that people get worried about. I know someone that said to me recently they actually stopped posting videos online, even though they're a good player. I think they're good. They just go, I get too many people say negative comments. I'm like, yeah, but that's going to happen. That is going to happen. You're literally opening your world to the internet, and people are just jealous because you've probably got a really nice guitar, whether it be a nice Les Paul or a nice Gibson or a nice violin or a nice piano, and they're going, oh, that's rubbish, or you're faking it, or I know that's quite a thing at the moment, but playing in front of people, it's going to do a lot of things. It's going to make you a confident person. So if you take the guitar away, you're going to be able to speak to people of all walks of life. Which is another thing as well. People get really like, this is what I can do. Well, no, it's just a product of what you can do up here and in here. But yeah, no, Nick, definitely playing in front of people that you know, that care for you immensely, that's going to help. Because, you could play in a club or wherever. You don't know these people. You're never going to see them tomorrow. There's also that mindset of just being like realistic with, doesn't matter. Okay. What went wrong, what went well? I've always done that after gigs, like, oh, that could have been better. Or some nights it's been, you know what, I actually played okay. That was pretty good. And it doesn't need to be like super analytical with, oh, I could have done that bit better, or, certain passage of music didn't go well. But, it's live. Mm-hmm. You can't just go start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. Oh, then it's like sounds like the perfect thing. Even the best people on the earth who are like the best at what they do, yeah, there's mistakes, but that's human error. Get on with it.
They happen, right? Yeah, you just gotta accept it and move on.
Yeah, but it definitely, it gives a strong foundation. So if there's anything to take away from our conversation today, it's obviously practicing something like realistic, learning, having the confidence to build on it, stand up and play. Because trust me, guitar players, if you've always sat down, when you come to stand up on a stage, this hand is going to move.
Yeah.
Your whole posture changes, and that's in a lot of instruments. Obviously, if you're sitting down at the gig, awesome. But if you're standing up in front of people, make sure your strap's properly locked in, and your leads are fresh and your strings are good. What else? So yeah, learning for sake of learning as well, and practicing stuff that's going to push you to be better. And I think that's more for some more experienced players than intermediate or beginners. Beginners, if you're struggling with the new things that are very difficult at the moment, but you can play with things that you didn't think you can do, look back on what you can do. Because that can help immensely with just music, and as a person as well.
Yeah. Let me ask you one more thing, which is, to me, it seems like a prerequisite for being great, such as yourself, is obsession, right? All the greats seem to be obsessed with playing with their instrument. My question is, can you learn obsession? Can you get obsession if you currently don't have it? How did you gain that?
Yes, it's human habit. It's habit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a sort of a weird addiction as well. Addiction to the music and the instrument, and it's a very euphoric thing of like hearing something for the first time and going, what is that? Like, whether it's a visual thing, like people have like favourite films. Why is it your favourite film? Because it speaks to me in a way that no other films do, and it's like music. I mean, I don't have a favourite song. I've got albums of favourite music because there's just too many good things in the world, past and present, that are here. And you're like, oh my god. But, if there was like an A to Z, or A to Z, if you're American, you're going to have like A, B, C, D, this guy, this girl, this person, this band, this artist, this composer, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you can't go right now, take out 10 of those. You can't, there's no need to do that, because it's like, that makes you a player. Nick, what was your question? Oh,
So
the obsession.
how do you gain obsession? How do
How
you
do you
learn
gain
it?
obsession?
Is
I
it
think
possible?
it's yeah,
Hmm.
it's definitely possible. I think the obsession comes from seeing results of your hard work. Obsession doesn't come from people giving you things. I see a lot of that. Like people seem to get a sort of, I've got this. Oh, now, but I'm doing this. They don't. They kind of want to jump and do loads of things. I think obsession comes from seeing your own improvement, whether that be learn a language, cooking, skill, a craft. Well, it's a craft, isn't it? Essentially, guitar and playing music. I think being obsessed is just being able to play things that you couldn't do beforehand. I mean, I've been playing a long time now, so I kind of, rather than going like months, I go like years. Going, I couldn't play that before. I mean, I remember struggling playing Back in Black, the sort of the run before it kind of goes to the end. But now I'm like, okay, that's. But then that's looking back, and that's realising how far I've come from playing that. And, I know that, yeah, that's one tiny bit of music, but the obsession, I think it just because you want to be able to do it. And it's not like, oh, if I can't do it, I'm going to be really miserable. It's like, no, this is more of a challenge. I think watching players who are really, really good, I'm going like, how do they do that? I want to do that. And, it's not like, I mean, that's kind of subjective as well, because if it's something that I like, that I'm going to use, I'm going to do it. If it's something I'm not going to use it in my vocab of playing, I'm not going to learn it. I appreciate it. I can see the amazing skill behind it, but it's not for me. Because it just doesn't gravitate to me. It's just or I don't gravitate towards it. But the obsession is wanting to play guitar and to be good at it. Wanting to write music and do gigs and play in front of people, see the world.
Which
not
you've done.
just yeah. And
Yeah.
I hope it continues.
Yeah. So it's taking those small wins too, like you said, and just like using those to motivate you and carry you forward.
Yes, where
Yeah.
it becomes a domino effect, and I think the good thing for people starting off who are younger, especially the people that are young watching this, you've got to micromanage your expectations of building your playing, and you've got to relate it to what you can do, like or what other people are like playing around you. I mean, playing with people as well helps improve yourself. That's timing, that's sense of awareness. If you like, you could play for hours and hours and hours, but if it's sloppy playing, you're not going to get better. And I'm saying that because I realise that what am I doing? Is it functional to me getting better, or is it I just want to play guitar and then tell people, oh, I play guitar for 4 hours? No, I put the work in.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's as simple from like a bend, a pull off, a hammer on.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you.
Well, James, thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
No,
This
you're
is
welcome, Nick.
extremely helpful for a lot of people around the world. So
Good.
we're gonna
And
get
I hope, even like people that watch this, remember to have fun, more importantly, with it. Because if you get annoyed or angry, take a break from it. Because you're not in the mindset of doing that. And it will come.
Yeah.
If you can visually see it in your mind, it's possible. You just have to put the hours into it. You can't just go, oh, I learnt this thing on Monday, now it's Tuesday, I don't know how to do it. Oh, okay, whatever. No, then you're not serious. You're not serious about learning. If you want to be great or really, really good, you have to dedicate yourself to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And still have fun.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
Don't make it negative, right?
Don't
Yeah.
be miserable. Have fun
Yeah.
with it, because
Yeah.
there can be some miserable people out there, make someone laugh.
Yeah, and it's hard to learn in that negative frame of mind, right? It's just hard to
Yeah,
grow.
I mean,
You know?
once you get into that mindset, just stop playing.
Yeah.
Whether
Yeah.
it's like an afternoon or a day or two, or move away from that. Move away from that thing that you can't play.
Yeah.
You know, I know we're finishing up, but I have students that that have said in the past, my hands are cramping up. I'm playing something and I'm like really relaxed. Well, no, play something really soft, like very basic chords. You know, just to kind of get the hands back to that sort of playing field, or like pushing. If you're up here right now and you're struggling, we'll bring it back down. Relax, ease into it.
Awesome.
Sorry, I didn't want to go over, but I'm
No,
kind
that's
of
so good.
yeah.
Yeah. Great. Well, thanks, James. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the time.
No, you're welcome, Nick.
Great.
You're welcome, and
Take
take care.
All right.